Hey guys, welcome. This is gonna be a brand new Let's Play of a visual novel I've had my eye on. It's called Being a Dick. And now, if you don't know anything about this, listen, it's supposed to be a very intricate storyline, and I'm very much looking forward to playing it. Without further ado, let's just get into it, right? Oh, but before we start, I guess I should mention that this game is not for the faint of heart, right? And I don't want you to have this sort of expectation of, you know, that it's a family friendly sort of game. If you've got grandpa on the couch with you, well, maybe he should sit this one out, okay? Watch something else on the Flanly channel. If you got little Johnny watching, oh, he can watch. You can watch. Go ahead, let him. It's chill. Now, there are mini games in this. Mini games are optional, but they offer you rewards such as special renders and money to spend. I'm a big fan of mini games. On the DS, one of my favorite mini games was WarioWare. It was actually the WarioWare DIY, do it yourself. And if you haven't played a WarioWare game, you must be living under a rock. First of all, but secondly, it's all about mini games. You know, you make your own mini games, and the main entries in the story is all about trying to do all these very very quick, very fast games. They're very interactive. There's always something different. They're very unique in each way, and they try to showcase the the limit of your system. So for the DS, you use the buttons, you use the stylus, you even use the microphone. I love that. I love that. And I think it's a very special formula, and that's why they've made so many WarioWare games. You know how Nintendo has like each of the things. Like Wario's got the WarioWare, Luigi's got the Luigi's Mansion, and then obviously Mario's got all these other games. Uh, but does Waluigi have a game? I know there's a Peach game. I don't know if there's a Daisy game. I do know that Waluigi, his first inception into the Mario series, I think, is through Mario Tennis. So I would argue that really it's Waluigi's tennis. It's his time to shine. Um, Also, another a little fun detail that I know. So you know how Wario is supposed to be this foil to Mario's character. So he's not as fit. He's a bit more, I don't know, rough around the edges. But also their hats, the materials of their clothing is meant to reflect this as well. Like apparently the M and the M in Mario on his hat and Luigi's L has like it's made with like higher quality materials. It's like embroidered into his hat, but Wario's and Waluigi's is sort of like half stitched on there. So it's not, you know, the quality isn't quite there. And so you can tell that these guys are like, come on, they're like the fake imitations. But really they shine on their own. When Waluigi wasn't in Smash, man, people were angry. Let me tell you. Like I suppose he is technically, but he's like an assist trophy or whatever. They want him as like a character. And Wario, he's got his own like all his games now. So he's not doing too bad for himself. But I think out of the four, my favorite games are the Luigi's Mansion. I remember playing Luigi's Mansion back on the GameCube, and I genuinely thought it was scary at the time. I know it's like a baby game, but back then, hey, you would not catch me playing Golden Light back then. Is all I'm trying to say here. It's yeah, Luigi's Mansion. I it's funny. I recently started watching Gura play Luigi's Mansion, even though the stream is like 2 years ago or something now. And it's a blast. It really is. Her personality gets to shine a lot through it. Um, I recently watched her clear out the sand in the Egyptian level, the Pharaoh level. I thought that was really awesome. I thought that was awesome. Uh, awesome in that so many people, like 10K plus people, were willing to sit there and watch her just vacuum sand for like a good 20 minutes. And she wasn't even, I'm not even saying like she wasn't entertaining at the time. She was just silent and just vacuuming up the entire room full of sand. And I thought that's such a beautiful moment. And you just had to be there to experience it for yourself. So if you haven't done that, I really do recommend you just watching through something. I bet there's a clip out there and it's like sped up and stuff. And so you don't have to sit through the entire thing. But it was a treat. The music is really good. They did a phenomenal job with that, with the soundtrack for Luigi's Mansion. Well, it's like three? There's like three of them now. Isn't that crazy? I think it's the one for the Switch, and and I think this one is really interesting because on every floor there's like the whole point is that you're trying to fix this elevator to get to the top floor to fight King Boo or something, and every floor has its own set piece, right? So there's one where it's like a gladiatorial combat, and then there's one where I know I'm sort of spoiling, but there's so much variety here. I feel like I can just give you examples, and you'll still be spoiled for playing the game. Like I said, there was the Pharaoh level. There's they're like with traps and intricate things. There was like the country level where the maintenance ghost was like the southerner and had the banjo playing, and then Gura just loved that. She ate it up. Even though I could definitely tell that the mechanic of being on like a floaty and using the vacuum to move yourself, it sounds cool and all, but it looked kind of a pain as well. I'm so glad that at the end, and oh, okay, never mind. I almost spoiled the boss fight, but I won't do that to you. I won't do that to you. Um, yeah, I watch her play certain types of games, and that's how it is with a bunch of these games these days. Like, right? Whenever I watch a VTuber, I have to be very selective. There's so many VTubers out there. There's so many entertaining people out here. It's incredible. It's incredible, really. And so when like I follow a handful of VTubers, and oh man, like Advent, when Advent came out, I was like, I wanted to watch them and support the folks there, but I couldn't keep up with them because it's hard enough to keep with my Oshis, that are in Hololive. But there's other people that I like to watch too. Like every once in a while, I'll watch a Rosemi or a Finana stream. I used to watch a Pomu stream. Um, I love watching Finana play horror games and Rosemi. I love watching people play horror games. But you know what though? I noticed as well that I don't like watching people play Chilla's art games. I'll watch mainly Badass Hero for that, and then I'm done. I got the story, I got the gist of it, and it's chill. It's chill. But what I am impressed with is how every VTuber plays Chilla's art games. It's crazy. What I especially during Halloween, you'll see a ton of Chilla's art just come up. But now, no. I'm gonna talk about my Oshi a little bit, Amelia Watson and Fauna and Amelia Watson. I got my Oshi in Myth and my Oshi in Promise. I almost said Counseloress, but now it's Promise now. Um, and so Ame, I love that she would pick out these indie games to play. Like she played Mundawn. That was a treat to watch. And then she played Fear the Spotlight, and that was awesome. I would not have found out about that game, but then the storyline was really cool. There was a little bit of, there was a little bit of a girl love in there, Yuri, which I saw that Ame was excited for, and that's awesome. And but not only that, but like just the set piece for it being in a school. You would think that being in a school that's such like a there's a ghost in it. Oh, is come on. You think it would get stale, but no, they really played up uh the setting, right? They made it very interesting, and there's like a lot of symbolism. I wouldn't say it's very subtle, but there's symbolism and stuff, and I think it's really good. I thought it was a really cool game. Maybe one of these days I'll play it. Um, but yeah, I love watching people play these indie games, indie horror games as well, and mostly because half the time it's because I don't have the guts to play it myself, and then watching someone else play it, it's like a different thing entirely. Like if you've watched people play like a horror game and then you play it yourself, you'll know that it's like, oh yeah, it's a different beast. It's a different beast. But past couple years, I've been trying my best to get in, wet my feet a little. I've been playing a bunch of the Dread X games, and I know they're not exactly like the triple A realistic, horror games out there, but I still think they are really solid. And uh, I think this is true with a lot of like indie developers, whether it's like with a game or if it's an indie artist or musician and stuff. They'll really try to make something unique because now more than ever, being like creative is you can support yourself being creative. I think, right, especially with games. There's so many games out there, right? And so, what was I trying to say here? Well, I think the point of that is that they make something unique. They really do, to try to stand out, and they work hard in doing that. And I really respect people who try to make games, try their hand at it, and yeah, it's a part of why I love games, mm, and why I love playing them. It's because you can really feel that there was a lot of work put into them, right? And if you've ever tried to like make a game yourself, you know that it's no small feat. That's why I really try. I get absorbed and immersed into things really easy. And the same goes with video games as well, and movies. If you've ever like watched a movie with me, you'll know that I'll get like really absorbed in it. Like if you take me out of it, I might get a little peeved. You know what I'm saying? Um, One one thing I do though every once in a while is that if I'm watching a movie by myself, I would actually pause it and then I'd go back to rewatch scenes and stuff like that. Like a movie that would take an hour would maybe take me like an hour and a half, you know, and then I would spend the time in the credits actually like trying to absorb everything that I've just witnessed, you know, because I think this is a sort of obvious thing is but you want a movie to end really strong in some way, right? You want people to think afterwards. That's what I think. It's like my mom told me this story about one of her friends who owned a banh mi stand in Vietnam. So she was out in the streets, she was selling banh mi, or this like Vietnamese sandwich, right? And one tip that she told my mom was that when you make banh mi, to make yourself memorable, you want to have a really strong beginning and a really strong end. So she would like put or butter and stuff at the very ends and stuff like that, and make sure she didn't skimp out when adding to the ends, right? Because usually all the meat and stuff is in the middle, but she wanted the beginning and the end to be very memorable. And that was her way of getting people to come back, right? And so I think that sort of thing goes with movies and just about anything. You want something to be memorable, and they do that. So that's why um, I like to sit during the credits, or if at the movie theater we maybe don't sit through the credits, but I would still like to sit there and just ponder about what I just had. And I don't go to the movies that often, because I get this thing where I feel exhausted, mentally exhausted after a movie. I know I've heard about this. I don't know anyone who actually did it, but movie hopping, or like one movie ends and then you would jump to the other movie theater and watch that movie. That's like, no, there's no way I would have the mental capacity to do that. It's like one movie is in a good way. It makes me think, and even if it's not that great, I saw this horror movie with a bunch of friends called Maw, right? And then they were ragging on it, like, oh, it's terrible, it's miserable. Come on, why do you like that? It was stupid. But I liked it. I say I liked it. Out of five, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5. I've watched a lot of bad horror movies, and that was not that was they tried to make like a what is it? A sort of plot involved. And like it sort of made sense. It was like a generational uh not a generational trauma, but it's like how one generation deals with this issue, and then the next generation has the capacity to not make the same mistakes. And I thought that was a really touching you know message. And not only that, I thought the characters were pretty cool. I felt sympathy for the antagonist. I felt some sympathy, and then things went a little crazy, and it's like, okay, all right, all right. It's a horror movie. I get it. But for the most part, I thought it was pretty solid for a horror movie. Another one that I watched. This is this even a horror? But it was Megan. The doll that it's like an AI doll that becomes too smart. It's not it's not a new thing. It's pretty, it's been done before. But I thought it was really cool. I thought it was very very fun movie. And if you manage your expectations like that, I think you can enjoy horror movies a lot more. It's like going for if you go to like a thriller versus going to like a slasher. You know what I mean? It's like you have to manage your expectations. When you watch No Country for Old Men, then you watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Those are two completely different. It's like I guess they're sort of set in the West, and it's like, yeah, there is a psychopath killer, but they're completely different, you know. And so you have to sort of manage your expectations when people say, "Oh yeah, it's a Western." Yeah, it's like there's a psychopath killer and stuff, but it's like, okay, but really, you should give it a shot. So if you want to watch a movie, or maybe you see it online, I would say instead of going to the critics and stuff, and basing your opinion on that, maybe you should watch the movie and then start looking at the reviews and stuff. I get the whole point of reviews is like, oh yeah, you want to see if there's a waste of time or not. But sometimes it's fun to go in blind, knowing that there are actors that have dedicated like, I don't know, like hours into this, like a ton of money's went into it. Maybe it's someone's passion project. Um, yeah, I know that there's supposedly a second Donnie Darko movie. I love the first, but I haven't watched the second, and I hear it did not have such a great reception. And I mean, I get it. I get it. It's like riding on the shoulders of giants sort of thing. But the I know that the directors were a big fan of the first one, and so their mentality going into it was, oh well, it's going to be made anyway. So it's better that, we have fans like us who are fans of the first movie actually try to make something decent out of it. And I don't know, I haven't watched it myself, so I wouldn't know if they succeeded or not. But I think it would have been a lot worse if they hadn't done that. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And is there any other sort of thing like that where fans had like a really big uh hmm I don't know. I imagine they do it in games too. Like, oh man, there was this one survey for aggro crab. It's like, what item would be in that krill, another crab's treasure, right? The game that's coming out. They made a poll like, what item would we add to the game? And then there was one called like it was like a cum sock or something. And it was very blatantly a cum sock that's become like stiff and petrified and stuff. And it was really gross. And somehow it made waves. Like everyone wanted that to be in the game. And then the devs were like, okay, no, we're not doing that. But then they had to go back because so many people were outraged because that was winning the polls or whatever. And so they did. So they are going to add it. The game's not out yet, but they said it is going to be in the game. But it's not. It's going to be like labeled like a very stiff sock or something like that. Something it doesn't outright say what its use was before it came into the ocean. But yeah, so in another crab's treasure, once it comes out and it is lauded as the banger of a game that it's going to be, because I love Going Under. It is one of my favorite roguelites just because of how much they stuck to a theme and doubled down with it. The same thing with Enter the Gungeon. I gotta say, oh, okay, before I go into Enter the Gungeon, I gotta say that, uh, in another crab's treasure, keep an eye out for a sock, okay? And if it's strangely stiff, you know why now. You know why. And if you don't find it in the game, then aggro crab is cut. Okay? Even if they made Going Under. They gotta stick to their word. Okay, so oh man, I gotta tell you, I love Enter the Gungeon. I've sunk so many hours into it. I got all four of the whole point of the game is like you go into the dungeon so you can kill the past or like change something in the past. And so I've done that with four of the with the main cast. The only one who I done it with the robot too. The only thing which is an optional character. It's like a you know unlockable character. I didn't do it with the bullet. There's a bullet that wields a sword, and you have to fight Ganon equivalent, which is Canon. It's like they're all like pun names. Like the one of the final bosses is like the dragon. You know what I'm saying? And there's a Gatling Gull, and there's Bullet Brothers. The whole thing is that everything is centered around guns, and there's like a million guns to choose from that you can find in there. All your perks are like half of them are bullets, special type of bullet. The other half are like explosives and stuff, or like health upgrades. You know how it is. Um, but yeah, and every enemy is a gun or has a gun on their person or has bullets somehow integrated into their kit, and I love it. It's so good, and not to mention that the gameplay is really smooth. So that's how I got into Devolver Studio, you know. And I'm trying to think, is there another game that really stands out from Devolver? Ooh, I bet there is. I'm just blanking at the moment. Um, I bet there is. Now, one other thing that I want to mention is that now that we're on the topic of sort of game studios, one thing that just comes to mind, I don't know why, every time I think about game studios, because I used to play World of Warcraft a lot. I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft with my dad and my cousin, and I don't think I played with my uncle, but he's the one who got me and my dad into WoW. And then, obviously my cousin was already into it, and I played during like the best time when WoW was at its peak. It was like 2012, around there. It was 2012ish, and there was the Mr. T Mohawk grenade, which was sick. The Wrath of the Lich King, like, it just came out not too long ago, and I think the highest level was like 70 or something like that, and people were, there was so many people playing WoW at the time, and it was like the top game to play at the time. And also just then, sort of around that time, I got into Minecraft because of the Yogs cast. I watched them play Minecraft, and they were playing like the I don't know if it was like an island. It's like a survival island where we're on an island, and then they dig down and they make a base and everything, um and I think that evolved into like the Shadow of Israfel in that series, and oh man, it was good. It was good, and they would play the custom Minecraft like adventure maps where you would have to download the map and stuff, and people would be using redstone to like power everything, and it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I was in the golden age of internet gaming. I don't know what it is now. Does it feel like a golden age? Maybe it is, because I think gaming is bigger than ever. But back then, I think another thing is like I don't know, I was also a kid back then, and so I had a lot of time to play games, and I was so easily immersed into things that feeling of entering World of Warcraft for the first time is something I don't think I'll ever feel again. It was such a magical moment where there was this open world. I was my first character was a blood elf warlock, in this open world, and then you could start fighting these mana worms, and like, whoa, these characters are so cool. And or you could go off to the shoreline and start swimming, and then this feeling of dread as like you're swimming on the surface, but then you look down and you can't see the bottom of the ocean, and you look ahead and you can't see any land from, and then you start taking fatigue damage. That means you've gone too far, because obviously you can only swim so far. But that was the first sort of time that I felt that fear of the ocean. And it only came back to me when I played Subnautica, right? But then Subnautica is like based on this entire ocean floor, ocean theme. While World of Warcraft, that was just like a small section of it. Like, okay, it's basically that was just the out of bounds area, and so you went the other way, and it was so cool. Oh yeah, you fight these magical beings, um, to protect your homeland, and then you go out and there's this giant scar, and your people are fighting against these undead in the scar that it's right outside of your main city. And these undead, they're like relentless in onslaught. And then you go to the Ghostlands and you find these massive spider arachnid people, and it's so scary the first time you see them. Um, and it had my heart racing when I went there and stuff, and especially because um I don't know. I think being young, it, yeah, it's tough. I haven't felt that in a while now. Every once in a while, though, I do get a game that really, really captures my attention, like Golden Light did. That I think the game premise is so unique, and it's not like the first time that it was like, oh, there's like a meat. You're in the gut stage of, we've seen that before. Like, you're in the gut stage. You're inside this kind of monster being where there's like flesh in the walls and stuff. that's not like uncommon in horror games, you know. But they made that the entire thing, and that they actually made like a plot line to go along with it, and it sort of makes sense with the areas. It feels like they made a story first, and then they made, I don't know how they did it. You know, you don't know where when like you have an idea and then you make a game, or you have like this game mechanic and then you make a whole story out of it. You know, but um, and it's really cool if it feels like seamless. If you can make it feel seamless, like you don't know which one came first, then I think that speaks a lot to a sort of a creator. I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all. Like maybe you have like a really interesting concept and you know, but I don't know, cuz if you have like an interesting concept, maybe it's just novel, right? And it won't make for like a good full game. But if you have like a good story, I feel like that could save a game, you know? Um like it doesn't have to be very intricate, but if you respect your player's time, I think that goes a long way. Um, but yeah, I think I'm done with my spiel now. And would you look at the time? It's already been 30 minutes. So I guess I'll have to pick this up another time. But hey, thanks for hanging out with me. This has been my first playthrough through being a dick. Um, it's been really good so far. I think it's very promising, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it. Also, happy April 1st. Happy April 1st. Okay. Take care now. Bye bye. Bye. Maybe I'll do something like real next time. Okay. Bye. Take care. Thanks.